All right, guys, the Utah Jazz lose to the New York Knicks. It's 9 straight for the Knicks, who are looking pretty impressive, and Utah had some real help in other ways in their search for Cooper Flagg. Let's talk about it. It's the Hoops Nerd postgame show. All right, guys, let's get into this. The Utah Jazz, like I said, they fall to the New York Knicks, they did not have Jalen Brunson in this one, and it didn't really matter. They got great games. Let's just go through the Knicks a little bit here and talk about them. The last time the Jazz played the Knicks, Utah actually won, and it was actually extremely disappointing for both teams. Obviously, the Knicks are trying to win every game they can. If the Knicks can somehow get to the top. In fact, let's just look at the standings here real quick for the Knicks. New York is sitting at number 3, and they're right there in that top 3 spot. I mean, Cavaliers are they're 5 games up. That's going to be tough for them to catch up to Cleveland, but maybe they can get that 2 spot, which would give them a chance to play, that would give them a chance to play either Atlanta or Indiana, possibly. It may not matter all that much, but if you get to the 2, that might give you a better matchup against maybe the Heat. And, New York may want to avoid someone like the Hawks, who they've struggled with in the past a little bit. But anyways, this Knicks team is pretty darn fun and pretty darn good. They come into this one, and they are offensively just awesome. In fact, I kind of want to bring this up because I want to look at some Jazz stuff too, but when we talk about the Jazz. The Knicks, let's see. Oh, you know what? Not standings. Oh, right here. The Knicks, their offense is awesome, and I would not be surprised if it is just off the charts here. Let's just take a look. In fact, we'll look at the Jazz and the Knicks right now. So let's go here. Let's just see where the Knicks are in their offense and defensive rankings after tonight. And I don't know if this is after tonight updated. If it was, it would help out the Knicks for sure. But look at that. Number 2 in the league in offense behind the Cleveland Cavaliers. That's the top 3 teams. Gosh, dang it, NBA. Those are the top 3 teams in the East. Offensively, they are amazing. You can just see. And then obviously Denver Nuggets behind Nikola Jokic, who's having just an out of this world season. That's pretty impressive right there. Oklahoma City top 7. Interesting. So defensive rating. This is where you're going to butter your bread, as they say. The Knicks do not show up here until... let's search them. New York. Oh, they're 14. So that's interesting. So they have the number 2 offense and the number 14 defense. This is where they've got to improve, and that was the big question mark. So they go out and they get Karl-Anthony Towns, and 100% their offense is incredible, and it's gotten even better since Mikal Bridges has really figured out his shot. Recently, he is just shooting it great, and so that's nice to see. Mikal Bridges, really good dude. Good player, and does everything really well on that offensive end when the shot is falling. Obviously, and that's, there's the hard-hitting analysis when, when someone's playing well, they're doing well. But that shot was looking bad in November, and at the beginning of the season, it was like 29%. It is now gone way up, looking a lot better. So shout out to him, and it's making this Knicks team look really good. And honestly, a win like tonight is pretty impressive because they do it without Jalen Brunson. Last season, everything was so dependent on Jalen Brunson. He was kind of the hub of everything. Now they've got multiple options, multiple players that can initiate and score when you consider obviously Jalen Brunson, but then you consider Karl-Anthony Towns, and now Mikal Bridges as well can go and hit kind of that mid-range shot. I mean, he's so good when he kind of dribbles into that mid-range and can just knock that down. And obviously, when it comes to offense, you want threes and dunks and threes, but you have to be able to score in other ways too when the defense takes those away. And so having someone like Brunson and Mikal Bridges, who can kind of pull up from anywhere on the floor, especially near 10 to 15 feet in that range, and just knock that down, it makes you extremely difficult to guard. Absolutely. So they are really good offensively, and we saw that tonight with their ended up pulling away from Utah 119 to 103. It was pretty close for a while, and I was actually pretty proud of this Jazz team, who continues to play hard and try, even though they're not winning these games, and they don't want to win these games, but they would like to see effort and development, and that's what we're seeing. So that's what I got on the Knicks. They're a team that's looking really interesting and really good. The question is, can they go from 14 to top 10? And what is it going to take? I think they probably are hoping that Mikal Bridges can kind of turn up a little bit as a defender. We saw OG Anunoby make some really impressive. I mean, he had like 3 steals in the first quarter that were pretty darn good. Or steals and blocks. He had 3 stocks, as they say. Let's see. 2 blocks, 3 steals, 5 stocks. That's impressive stuff for OG Anunoby. All right, let's talk about the Jazz. Utah loses tonight, and guess what? The Washington Wizards won. The Toronto Raptors won. So Utah actually jumped in the standings for Cooper Flag. Big time stuff. I know it's a long season, guys, but it's going to go by so fast. We have trade deadline on February 6th. On SLC Dunk, we're going to be writing about that. We're going to be talking about that here. I got my own New Year's resolutions for just as a manager of SLC Dunk and as just doing my YouTube channel. I want to do more and more. We're going to just do more and more and more and more. And that's always the goal, but I'm motivated to do it. Now that the holidays are out of the way, let's get this show on the road, baby. Anyways, Utah starts with Johnny Juzang again. This is because John Collins is out. They've been playing Juzang because he shoots the ball so well from 3. Tonight was no different. 2 for 4 from 3 tonight for Johnny Juzang. Played pretty decently, not going to lie, but it wasn't enough to really overcome. Walker Kessler, it's interesting. He had a minus 14. I think that's a little bit deceiving because I think he played pretty well. But New York was awesome tonight, and one of the things that's difficult about guarding the Knicks is that Karl-Anthony Towns is just an elite three-point shooter, spreads the floor, and it kind of takes Walker Kessler out of the picture, which is kind of an interesting thing to think about in terms of the future for Walker Kessler, because in certain situations, like let's say the Jazz are playing the Knicks in the playoffs, that's a tough matchup for Utah. I know Walker Kessler can go out and guard he can go out and guard Karl-Anthony Towns, but Utah does not have very good defenders across the floor. I actually saw something. So Sven tonight was covering with me on playback, and he kind of posted about the what's it called? The D LeBron is one of those kind of advanced analytics, and Utah has 3 players on there that don't look very good in terms of that defensive metric, and it doesn't surprise because Utah's like number 30 in the NBA in defense. But the players, Colin Sexton is technically like the number 1 worst defender in the NBA according to D LeBron. You have Keontae George at 2, and then Lauri Markkanen at 4. Those 3 players not playing good defense, kind of explains why Utah's defense is so rough. And so Utah's players are more like DeBron. But yeah, it's called D LeBron or whatever. I think it's kind of based off of LeBron. LeBron is kind of everything's based off of him because he's arguably the best player in the NBA the last 20 years. I don't think that's all that questionable. Anyways, we're not going to talk about D LeBron anymore. But anyways, Utah has the number 30 defense in the league. In fact, when you look at it here, you can see that, boom, right there. Bad defense. And so when you're playing against a New York Knicks team who spreads out and Karl-Anthony Towns is spotting up from that top of the three-point line, it takes Walker Kessler out, who is the best defensive player on the Jazz, and it kind of negates what he does. So it's, this Utah Jazz team is going to get a great pick in this draft. They've got some young players that are really interesting. Losing Taylor Hendricks is a big deal, and you got to ask yourself some questions about that. When Markkanen is grading out that poorly as a defender, Keontae George grading out that poorly, when you have that many guys on the floor, Colin Sexton as well, you've got to ask yourself, what does that mean for the future of this team? It's just something to watch. So Utah, if they get like a Cooper Flag and they have someone like Taylor Hendricks, I mean, you can start looking at some things for the future and down the road, and there were some rumors. We talked about it on the playback, and Sven had heard it, and maybe it was the Jazz broadcast, but Taylor Hendricks was with the Jazz tonight in New York. He's able to travel with the team now. Great sign for his recovery, and he might be doing better in his recovery than people expected, which is an exciting and nice thing to hear. But if Taylor Hendricks takes a leap as a player, we know what he can do defensively and how good he can be. We know, let's say, dreams come true and the Utah Jazz get Cooper Flag. We know what he can be defensively. You combine something like Cooper Flagg, Taylor Hendricks, Walker Kessler, and then the Jazz can go out and either draft another guy. All of a sudden, that defense starts getting better. And it's not going to be better immediately because it takes time to develop your guys. Taylor Hendricks needs development, and that's what sucks about the injury. I mean, he's probably not coming back this season. I guess never say never, but most likely not. But he will likely be back for training camp, hopefully. And next year we're going to see, it's going to be a fascinating offseason for Utah, by the way. Just fascinating. What is going to happen? What decisions do they make? I think a lot of it depends on what they do in the draft. Do they win the lottery? What happens? Do they get a number one pick? Do they have a game-changing player they get in the draft? Going to be super fascinating. But the thing that Utah is really struggling with right now, and some of it is manufactured. People need to remember that, some of this stuff, where are we? Right here. Some of it is manufactured. Utah is not, and we've had the defense get better. We've seen it, especially 2 years ago when the Jazz were much better. The defense was around here, still not good, but it was good enough to win some games that better than we thought. And what was crazy about that start to that season 2 years ago, where Utah started so well, is offensively they were like top 5. It was actually crazy, and so Utah is kind of manufacturing losses with the defense. Offensively, where does Utah fall? I'm actually curious. 20. So Utah keeps improving offensively. This is actually pretty nice to see because Utah was down at like 29-30 a month or two ago. Look how much they've improved. Actually, that's exciting. So let's look at the last. I'm actually really interested here. So let's go about 6 weeks. So let's look at November 15th to today. Let's just see where Utah stands from then, because this is kind of a gauge of improvement, I guess. Offensive rating, interesting. Those are all staying the same. Where does Utah fall? Utah, in the last 6 weeks, falls number 11. So Utah in the last 6 weeks is number 11. That's with Keontae George improving his shooting. That's with a lot of these players improving. I mean, offensively, if there's one thing you can I'm a little, I'm verklempt. I am having a hard time this is crazy. Number 11 in the league the last 6 weeks. That's no small sample size. Utah is, and that matches the eye test. Utah's playing good offensive basketball. Now, they're playing, well, actually, I'm flabbergasted a little bit. I'm jazzergasted. Jazz flabbergasted here. Number 11 in the last 6 weeks offensively. If anyone has any questions about Will Hardy as a coach and what he can do is 100% coach offense. Holy crap. That's crazy. I'm actually speechless. That's unbelievable. Last 6 weeks, Utah is playing at a high level offensively. Number 11, Keontae George starting, Colin Sexton starting. That's Walker Kessler. Some of that's John Collins with his 50-40-90, and then obviously Lauri Markkanen at the 3. Pretty interesting. So Utah's at 11, and then in the last 6 weeks, let's look at the defensive rating. Let's just search that again. Bing, bang, boom. Number 30. So defensively not. And that is absolutely manufactured. Can Utah... That is fascinating. So Utah knows how to score, and they are losing these games defensively. They've got to ask themselves, we're number 1 in defense, just on the wrong side. But actually, I'm not going to lie. This is really exciting to see if you're a Jazz fan. You've got to be happy about that. Utah is improving. Their young players are developing. They are scoring at a high level. Number 11 in the league. Would anyone have guessed that Utah, who sits at number 4 in the lottery right now, would be at number 11 offensively the last 6 weeks? I don't think so. So that's pretty exciting stuff. Let's maybe take a look at why. Now, Utah may have been in this game a lot more than people thought. Markkanen had his worst shooting night of the season from the field. 16 points, 10 rebounds, 2 assists. He may be wearing down a little bit. We've seen this a little bit with Markin in the last 3 seasons. He's played fantastic for Utah, but there are these kind of periods where he gets worn down. And it's, I don't know. You've got to ask yourself a little bit, like, does he need to take a few breaks here and there during the season? I don't know if Markkanen, because he's so tall, because he's so big, the Jazz have him playing kind of that 3-4 spot. He kind of, it's tough. He kind of wears down a little bit, and I think it does affect his shooting, obviously. And the Jazz are also on a very long road trip right now. I think Markkanen is one of those guys that tends to wear down in certain situations. Like, for example, this one with the road trip, and he also seems to wear down a little bit when he has some sort of injury. He had the back spasm thing a couple weeks ago. I wouldn't be surprised if Markkanen probably sits a game. Although I will say, Utah, I was looking at the playback the next Jazz game. The Jazz don't play till Saturday. So that may be good for Markkanen just to rest, but they're playing the Heat, and I wonder if the Jazz just rest Markkanen. We'll see. But this is either a sign of wearing down or injury. You can almost count on it. The NBA is pretty predictable, and when you see numbers like this from Markkanen, who is having an awesome season shooting the 3, and then all of a sudden he's going 1 for 10, that's usually a sign he's either got some sort of nagging injury he's kind of playing through, or he's a little bit wearing down. And so I wouldn't be surprised if the Jazz give him. He probably could stand, and it doesn't really matter. Utah's not worried about winning these games. It probably helps Utah to rest him 2 or 3 games and just get him back into form. So maybe. And it may be, Dre. I think they are trying to use him in some different ways, but 1 for 10 from 3 is just not typical Lauri Markkanen shooting, right? I mean, that's just, and it may just be an off night, but we've seen a few of these lately. In fact, Markkanen, let's just look. Let's go to Basketball Reference. And let's go look at Markkanen here. Let's just see. What is his last? I'm kind of curious. Bing, bang, boom. Let's go to the game log, and let's just see where Markkanen's at these last 10. Markkanen, he rested that one. Let's see what this pops up. Markkanen, this is his last. Come on, basketball. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here we go. Why did you put it there? Field goal percentage, 41 from the field, 35 from 3. So that kind of matches up. That's how many games? That's the last 9 games, and he rested the one before. He's shooting 20.3 points, 1.3 assists, 5.8 rebounds. Yeah, it looks like he may just be in a slump. Tonight is certainly going to not help this number right here. Absolutely. So he's going to be in his last 10 games in the low 30s from 3. I wonder if I don't know. It's just a little something to watch. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't play a game here soon just to get some rest. Maybe misses 2-3 games just to get back and get right. Utah also might stand to just lose a few games coming into trade deadline. They're absolutely going to be active. Let's see. Walker Kessler, we already talked about him a little bit. When you're playing against the Knicks, they have a special their makeup of their offense gives teams with a rim protecting center like Kessler problems because it brings him out of the paint. We've seen that before with Rudy Gobert, and the same thing with Kessler. When he's out of the paint, Utah does not have the defenders to withstand the offensive weapons, and so that's why we kind of saw what happened tonight. But Kessler defends him pretty well. 6 points, 8 rebounds. Look at this. 5 assists for Kessler. That's nice to see in a block and a steal. Kessler's just having a great season. I am impressed with him. I am a tanking enthusiast. And so if Utah gets a big time offer from the Lakers, in fact, I should have done a video on it. New Year's resolution, do more videos. But there was that thing from Anthony Irwin, who has great sources. He has great ones. But the Lakers absolutely love Kessler. Like, they love him. They want him so badly. And you can count on it. They, in the next month, are going to be calling the Jazz and calling and finding out where they are and trying to, obviously, all that the teams are doing right now up to trade deadline, they're trying to get the best players possible for the lowest amount possible. And so I'm sure they just keep in contact. They call them. They see where they're at. Where are you with this? Who's offering you what? What do we have to do to get a deal done? And then they'll call back. Can we loosen that a little bit? Blah 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 blah. Right? Well, the Knicks, or not that I keep talking the Knicks. Obviously, they played the Knicks. The Lakers are going to keep calling on him, and we'll see. I tend to be in the camp of I like having Walker Kessler on the team next year because I think if you want to change that defensive identity from 30 to top 10, if you want to be a championship contender, you got to be top 10 in both offensive and defense, right? Jazz are kind of close with a very much a developing tanking team, are almost there on offense. That's what's exciting, and it shows you how good Will Hardy is. Defensively, the Jazz do not have the defensive personnel to pull that off. Even the Knicks, they're incredible offensively, but they're only 14 on defense. But with Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, Jalen Brunson's a pretty good, tough defender. I mean, he's not high level, but he's pretty strong, pretty tough. They defend pretty well. And so that's why, you can kind of make up for Karl-Anthony Towns a little bit. Utah just does not have a lot of defensive talent on the team, right? They've got some real offensive talent like Key and Sexton and Markkanen and these guys that can shoot the ball and score. And we're seeing that in the offense. We're definitely not seeing it defensively. And so that's why this, man, if they can win the lottery, Cooper Flagg is kind of that silver bullet for a lot that ails this Utah team. And then you add on the fact that Taylor Hendricks is also an incredibly good defender and has potential to be that great defender. And I have a feeling Hendricks is going to be fine from his injury. By the way, another great thing tonight, Minnesota lost as well. So look at that. They dropped to 16. San Antonio won. Really, I mean, honestly, come on, Steph. We're all Steph Curry fans. We're all KD fans. Anyways, I'm getting sidetracked here. Utah needs some defensive talent. They just don't have it. Outside of Walker Kessler. Honestly, Lauri Markkanen showing up as the fourth worst defender on D. LeBron. Keontae George is the number 2, and Sexton is number 1. Are we surprised that we're the number 30 defense? Utah's just got to fill this roster with defensive talent that, Jazz just need better players. It's really where they're at. Let's see. So we spoke about Keontae George. The defense is not very good. It's just not. He's got to be better in a lot of ways. I think it gets a little better when he's got, and that's kind of everyone. I think Colin Sexton, I have a hard time seeing him become a good defender, but both Sexton and George had really nice offensive nights tonight. He was 6 for 13, 3 for 7, 6 assists, 15 points. Can't argue with the offense. Utah's offense is doing pretty well, and Key's been a big part of that. And then Colin Sexton, look at this, 10 for 13 from the field. He had just a nice offensive night, 25 points. Pretty awesome stuff from the Jazz offensively from their duo. They just can't defend. And so Utah's got some tough questions to answer. I think Key is a part of the future, but he's got to get better defensively. Colin Sexton he's got to have some fans out there. There's got to be a team out there that looks at him and says, we can bring him on and he can be a big part of what we do. The thing that's really tough right now is the CBA is so tough, and especially for teams that are trying to win that might want to bring on Colin Sexton, it's just extremely restrictive. So Utah to trade Colin Sexton is probably going to have to take on a pretty rough contract to get the picks they're going to ask for. But there might be a team out there willing to do it. I mean, you look at these numbers, and Colin Sexton is having just an awesome year, and he's just getting better and better and better. I honestly, these things are such a good sign for Will Hardy. I guess the only question I have for Will Hardy now is, can he coach a defense? And that may be something that we find out in a year or two when they have actual defensive talent. If he can coach this offensively, something tells me that someone who knows how to coach offense like this knows how to stop offense, and Utah may be just as good defensively. But look at what Sexton's doing this year from just percentages. Look at this. He's having a career year from the free throw line, 89%. He is having a career year from 3, and he is having almost a career year from the field, 49.3%. So having an absolutely awesome offensive season. He grades out as the worst defender in the NBA, according to D. LeBron, and that kind of matches the eye test. It's just tough when you're undersized and you're playing just bigger players that are he just is not a good defender. He's pretty darn bad. And so there may be a team out there that wants to bring on Sexton that can put him in as kind of a sixth man. When you're putting up these kind of offensive numbers, it's impressive, impressive stuff. And really, in my mind, I have to think that Colin Sexton probably wants to be on a winner. We know what Colin Sexton is as a player. He's in his, 8th season now? Does anyone have any questions if Colin Sexton can do any more? I mean, he literally can't really be any better than what he's being. He's having almost a 50. I mean, if he just gets this to 50% and hits a few extra free throws, he's having a 50, 40, 90 season. That is about as elite as it gets. There's no one in the NBA right now having one. John Collins for a little bit was, and then he missed some free throws. So Colin Sexton might be having, percentage-wise, one of the best seasons in the season outside of like Jokic. And so there's got to be someone out there that might want him, and I have to think that he probably wants to be on a team that can compete for winning games, right? He also may be interested in getting a contract, re-sign with a team that's winning. So there's a lot of motivation to move him on a team. Utah is not worried about winning games right now. They're worried about developing the youth, and they're worried about getting good players in the draft. 100%. That's really all this comes down to. And so Keontae George, Colin Sexton, they're developing. But Colin Sexton, him having 31 minutes tonight, what's kind of tough about that, and 31 minutes for Sexton, 32 minutes for Jordan Clarkson, only 11 minutes for Isaiah Collier. By the way, Cody Williams in the G League tonight scored like 36 points for the Stars. Kind of feels like he may have gotten over a little bit of whatever is causing him to lose his confidence. These minutes could be going to Cody Williams. These minutes could be going to Isaiah Collier, Filipowski, Sensabaugh. Like, honestly, I would much rather watch Sensabaugh starting next to Keontae George than Sexton. We know what Sexton is. There's no surprise there. We know what Jordan Clarkson is. Is anyone surprised by anything they're seeing from Jordan Clarkson? It's kind of what we've seen the last 3 years. Utah has to find a suitor, and we know that he's available for a second-round pick. If someone offers Utah a second-round pick, you can have Jordan Clarkson. But I would like to see these 31 minutes, these 32 minutes, go to guys like Sensabaugh, Cody Williams, Isaiah Collier, right? I just think that that's going to be much more effective. And even if Collier and Sensabaugh, I think we're kind of really finding out that Sensabaugh is actually, he is a legit NBA rotation player if you just give him some time to develop, if he continues to improve and get right physically and improve his handle, whatever. But at worst, Sensabaugh is going to be a really nice shooter for Utah. That's a much better use of these minutes than what's going on now. Utah's not winning these games. They don't want to win these games. And there are games where Colin Sexton is putting Utah in a very uncomfortably close position to winning a game. And that is when things are this tight. Look at this. Utah, I refreshed this a couple times. It's so nice seeing that little Jazz note go up. Nothing warms my little heart, my cold, dead Jazz heart, than watching this thing rise. Nothing. I watch these Charlotte Hornets every day, and I root for them like you wouldn't believe. Watching this keep rising, and look, Washington won today. Utah is only a half game back of Washington. The point is that Colin Sexton and Jordan Clarkson getting these minutes could go to Collier, could go to Sensabaugh, could go to Cody Williams, right? And you get to see what they are. And if they all bust, let's say they all just end up fizzling and busting, it doesn't matter because Utah's getting 3 more picks in this upcoming draft. So someone like Filipowski, who I think we should be pretty excited about. And in fact, talking with some of the other SB Nation managers of other teams, especially Laker guys, everything they're hearing from their sources, Filipowski's a dude. Filipowski is a guy. Utah has someone in Filipowski. The question is he a rotation player off the bench, or can he develop into something that can play good enough defense? The only question with Filipowski is defense. Utah is not a good defensive team, and they got to figure that out with him. But absolutely, he plays with toughness and grit, and he's got some piss and vinegar to him, and I really like it. Sensabaugh, absolutely offensive player, can absolutely shoot the lights out, and he goes for periods where he's unbelievable. But Utah's got to get defensive talent, and if these guys don't develop into defensive players, it's okay because Utah's going to draft them. This draft has some really nice players in it. And, was it Dre? I think, Dre, you were talking to me about Ace Bailey during the playback. And I like Ace Bailey because he can bring some defensive talent to this Jazz team. They just need it. You need to have players that can play both ends of the floor. And Ace Bailey can do that. And I tell you what, it's going to be, honestly, such a fascinating offseason. Sven brought up the question on the playback. He was talking about, well, if Utah wins the number 1 pick and you get Cooper Flagg, then do you go and make a trade for someone like De'Aaron Fox? I am more pro letting your team develop. Like, I really like what Houston's done. I like what OKC's done and what the Spurs have done. The Spurs win the lottery, they get Wembanyama, and then they go out and get some veterans, right? Same thing with Houston. Houston has 3 years in a row of getting top 5 picks, and then they go out and get some veterans that kind of like help settle and create a higher floor for the team. That's what I like for this Jazz team. I want to go out and get 2, 3, at least 2 like top 5 picks at least, and then go get guys. Now, if the Jazz win the number 1 pick and get Cooper Flagg, and they think they're going to be better than the bottom 8, then I guess I don't hate the idea of going and getting some veterans, and then you have a team of like Cooper Flagg, Lauri Markkanen, Walker Kessler, and then you go out and get a veteran, and then you hope that Keontae George and whoever else you draft and some of your other young players are kind of ready to go. I'm a little scared to go that fast, but it's possible. I mean, Utah winning the lottery can really give them options. I mean, Cooper Flagg is going to come in and he's going to be awesome, guys. I was talking to Sven about it. Like, he's good at everything. And I'm talking both sides of the floor. And I'm not like everything. Ball handling, shooting, passing, screening, rebounding. He does everything. He is so awesome. He is the epitome of a winning player. He does not care if he's setting the screen. He does not care if he's running the pick and roll, shooting. He rebounds in a way that makes me so happy. It gives me the tinglies watching him rebound because he attacks a box out on every play like you want to see. And then defensively, he's good at everything. Blocks shots, steals. He had I think they played today, he had 4 steals. Steals the ball, blocks shots, covers ground, rebounds the ball, boxes out, just does everything. And so if Utah wins the lottery and gets that type of player, it changes a lot of what they can do. And then maybe you do just kind of see what you can get. The problem for Utah is that they don't have a lot of cap space to go get a guy. I mean, it would be the funnest thing ever. Well, I don't know if it would be fun, but it would be interesting. Someone like Jimmy Butler is available in free agency next year. And if Utah didn't have Jordan Clarkson and John Collins' contract on the books, like the Brooklyn Nets have clear books coming up, they could go out and give an offer to Jimmy Butler. Like, let's say you win the lottery and you have Jimmy Butler, Cooper Flagg, Lauri Markkanen, Walker Kessler. That's pretty interesting starting unit. And then if you get another guy, I mean, who knows? It's interesting to think about. Utah has so many options, but we got to be patient. We got to do it right, and Utah's doing it right. So I've been mad at the Jazz for a while because they really screwed things up. There is no reason why Utah shouldn't be like right here, but the season's far from over. We got another look. Utah's 7-25, so that means what is that? 32. There's 50 games left. The season's far from over. Utah has a lot of options to really solidify positioning. So things are going well. They could have gone a little bit better, but things are going well. Can't complain. Speaking of the young guys that need more minutes, by the way, look at this. It's kind of crazy when you look at just the shot distribution. 22 shots for Markkanen. I'm happy that Key took 13, but 13 shots for Colin Sexton, 19 shots for Jordan Clarkson. That is so many shots. And then you look at this. 2 shots for Collier. I don't care about Svi Mikhailic. 5 shots for Filipowski. 5 shots for Sensabaugh. I want, and we talked about this last time, but it's crazy. I want these shots right here. Boom, boom. Going here. And Cody Williams didn't even play. There's no minutes for Cody Williams to play. And we haven't even seen John Collins. So shots that would go to John Collins. Colin Sexton, Jordan Clarkson. To me, it feels like kind of wasted opportunity to develop these young guys. And I guess, you want to slowly bring these players up, but Utah has to be active during trade deadline. February 6th can't get here soon enough, to be honest. And Utah, to be able to keep up with these guys these guys are already trading off assets. It's only a matter of time before Charlotte does it too. But Charlotte they're going to win some games here. I actually think Utah's in a great spot to really get up here. The one we got to watch is Zion Williamson. He is coming back here soon. We were talking about it on the playback. I mean, the thing was from Shams Charania on November 11th, he said 4 to 6 weeks for Zion Williamson to come back. It's now January 1st. Where's Zion? Come on, Zion. Come on, Zion. Come on, Zion. Come back. Win some games for the New Orleans Pelicans, okay? Please. Please. Come on back, because Utah, I want to be here, baby. I think number 1 is well within reach. Washington is kind of where they're at. I don't think anyone's out there trading for Kyle Kuzma. I don't think anyone is out there trading for, what's the other guy Jordan Poole. They have some young rookies that are getting better. They had a really good draft, by the way. Sarr is looking like a legit guy and, legit rotation center that can spread the floor. And they had Bub Carrington, who they drafted. He looks pretty solid. I mean, they're not shooting the lights out, but they look like solid players. And then when Jordan Poole and if Kyle Kuzma has a good game here and there, they're going to win some games. I think Utah 100% can lock down a top 5 pick. How incredible would that be to have a top 5 pick? If they go top 5, I'm ecstatic, because if you get top 5, you secure yourself one of these guys. And these are, I mean, honestly, top 4 would be just amazing, because if you can secure yourself either Ace Bailey or Yegor Demon, whoever you like, or maybe you really like Jakusonis. There's a lot of people out there that are pretty big Jakusonis fans. He's one of those big risers. I can't believe Trey Johnson's falling. He's having just an incredible offensive season. I mean, Trey Johnson, I guess the question is, can you defend? But he's a 6'6" shooting guard that's breaking scoring records for Texas, and that includes some numbers that Kevin Durant put up. So pretty impressive draft. To get a top 7 pick is incredible. And then, man, could you imagine if Utah gets Kamen Malawach with the Wolves pick? That's my little dream. My favorite scenario is that the Wolves just kind of have a terrible post-trade deadline season and just kind of fall off, and Utah gets what if the Wolves pick jumps? You know what I mean? That would be unbelievable. There's some real guys. This Derek Queen guy, this is kind of the guy I'm kind of watching. Guys, go watch his film. He's really fun. He is kind of this Jokic-y kind of player for Maryland. Look at these numbers: 22.7, 11.8 rebounds, 2.9 assists, 1.8. He is not like an athlete. He's very Jokic-y, where he's just big and strong and just has great hands and scores and rebounds and it bullies people. And the only problem is he's 6'10". The thing that makes Jokic special is he's like 7'1", and so he truly just bullies everyone. But Derek Queen is like a diet Jokic, although I don't think I'd ever put the word diet next to anything related to Jokic. But anyways, Derek Queen is fun, and I kind of love the idea of him being a player on the Jazz. Defensively is the question. That's the thing. In fact, just looking at this, I think Cooper Flagg is going to be an elite defensive player, like game changer. Like when Ben Simmons came into the league and he actually liked playing basketball, or at least was motivated to play basketball, he was a game changer. I think Cooper Flagg is that kind of player and is going to change things for whoever he's on. Dylan Harper, I don't know. He may be good, he may not. What we do know about Dylan Harper is he's going to be phenomenal offensively, and he can be the offensive hub. If Utah gets the number 2 pick and they get Dylan Harper, that is going to be absolutely a fun player to have on your team. Holy smokes. Like a lineup of Utah may never stop anyone defensively, but offensively, Utah's going to be awesome. And then from here on out, I think Ace Bailey has a chance to be a really great defensive player. I don't know about Yegor. VJ Edgecombe has a chance to be a game changer defensively. Look at this. 3.2 steal, or what is it? Yeah, 3.2 steals, 1.5 blocks. This guy is the stock master. He is, we should call it, I mean, he already has an incredible name. The villain is the nickname for VJ, which is incredible. Just incredible nickname. But you know what? Look at these stocks. You guys remember Stalker from G.I. Joe? VJ Edgecombe's kind of Stalker, and he might turn out to be so much better than we even think, but he's going to play shooting guard. I think he's Jalen Brown, or that's kind of a comp. He's just got to figure out the shooting. In fact, let's look at what his numbers are shooting the ball. Look at this. Defensive win shares, steals, blocks, off. This guy is just... Be still my heart. When you say defensive talent, there is a world where he's the best perimeter defender in the NBA, right? Just amazing. The 3-point percentage, look, 30%. If he's just got to shoot the ball. Can he shoot? 30%, 42 from the field. This is not surprising because he's an out of this world athlete, right? So, Utah's got to get that top. I would love to see VJ Edgecombe in a Jazz uniform and let him play defense and just be something that would be just absolutely amazing. I think that's all I got tonight. Sensabaugh only got 14 minutes. I would have liked to see more. I got some questions for him defensively too. I think if Sensabaugh can get in just like incredible shape, like can you please get to like below 10% body fat and just get yourself in the best shape of your life, I think he has a chance to be something really nice. I don't know what that is and what the ceiling is there, but we absolutely know he can shoot. He's started showing off that mid-range game too. He's got to improve the fitness, got to improve the handle, and also defensively. So I don't know, but who's to say he can't become a higher level defender? Why not? Why not? This was a fun one to watch. I know the Jazz are losing games, but we're seeing a lot of development from the young guys. I'm really happy to see Keontae George improving. I'm happy to see Isaiah Collier doing better and better. And then, you know, guys like Filipowski are getting minutes. I just want to give these young guys more minutes. And who knows? Maybe Hendricks comes back sooner than later, although that injury was pretty rough. And so we'll see kind of what happens. All right, guys. That was a lot of fun. Let's see. We jumped in the lottery. So Utah improves to number 4. And that gives them a 50% chance at a top 4 pick. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. How happy that would make me. And hopefully everyone else. Let's see here. Oh, you can see that I was kind of thinking about getting a a Peacemaker helmet. I would love to wear a Peacemaker helmet on this show. That would be the best. All right, let's see what would happen if the Jazz were in the lottery today. Let's see. Drops. Utah goes to 7. Dang it. Drops 3 spots. Look at that. Portland goes up. Toronto goes up. Brooklyn goes up. Utah drops 3. New Orleans goes up, or New Orleans drops 2, but stays in the lottery. Utah goes to 7, which gets them Trey Johnson. Incredible offensive player. Utah would be absolutely flamethrowers on offense. I don't know how much they're going to defend. So that would be fun. At least Utah has solidified a top 7 pick. Can Utah, let's say Utah gets the 1 and they drop 3. That means they get Yegor Demon or VJ Edgecombe. That's the thing they got to do. That's what we're playing for. We're playing for the floor. We're shooting for the stars, but we're solidifying our floor, right? All right, guys. Thank you all for being here tonight. Let's give a shout out to our All-Stars. If you haven't already, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to support the channel, like our All-Stars and our members, I would really appreciate it. It's really something that matters a lot to me. So I thank you guys, all the members, for joining and who support. Thank you so much. Let's give a shout out to our All-Stars tonight. Let's give a shout out to Ryan Edward Perry, the legend, Baby Elliott Madsen, See Ya, Alexa Later, Christian House Money to Haas, The Outlaw, Jesse James Nelson, Jordan the Goat Best Roll, Austin R. Grant Editor Extraordinaire, KG10 to TH5, and Patrick Akubo. the connoisseur. When do we see more All-Stars come back? I don't know. But thank you to the All-Stars who are here now. You guys are absolutely holding the fort. All right, guys, like I said, subscribe to the channel, like the video. I will talk to you next time. Probably tomorrow, we're doing more and more and more and more. Like they say. I don't know. I don't know what they say. Guys, I'll talk to you next time. Bye.